Spin it! Let's begin it. Bear and grin it. Spin it!
Oh yeah, tailspin. Oh yeah, tailspin. Friends for life through thick and thin with another tail to spin.
Tailspin was the next one. This one I super remember very vividly because I was a little bit older, I think, when I started watching Tailspin. And I used to write an animation blog a while ago, just researching various topics, because I found myself like several times a week going down like deep in these wiki holes of like researching specific animated series. And I was like, I should start like writing this information down. So A, so I can remember it, and B, so other people don't have to do all this research that I'm doing. And one of the ones I researched was Tailspin, because it was just such an interesting show. And again, the world was so cool. It's set in like the late 1930s era. A world of like a lot of planes, and they live on the coast, so there's a lot of boats and planes, and just really exciting, like almost Indiana Jones kind of style to that series and that world. It was really cool. They live in a town called Cape Suzette. I think it's like all the names of these worlds have really fun like towns, and it's good. There's some clever writing in there. It's awesome.
For sure, yeah. I like ideas just kind of kept coming to me for Tailspin, easier than the rest, actually.
Good.
Yeah. The one obvious thing is for food. I think there should be Louie's restaurant.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's great. And if anyone hasn't seen Tailspin, a lot of the characters came from the Jungle Book, which seems really strange to me. Like, how did they get, from being just animals living in the jungle to anthropomorphic animals, like wearing clothes and flying airplanes and having fought in a war 20 years ago? There's like a whole cool backstory. Like, they're like referencing World War I having happened, and like a lot of the characters fought in that war a long time ago. It's like, it's kind of crazy. And there's some kind of dark backstory to Gummi Bears as well, like where their people like were chased out of their homeland basically because the humans were using them to create all this cool technology, but like abusing them basically, and so they had to flee, and they're lost from the rest of their people. Like, it's just this one small tribe living in Gummi Glen, but there's other Gummi Bears around the world. They just have lost contact. So there's some kind of interesting stuff for the teenagers or like the parents who aren't super obsessed with these shows. There's some interesting backstory there that could almost be a little like scary if you're a little kid and you're like, what there's all this bad stuff happened. It's kind of interesting. It adds a lot of like darkness to the background and the backdrop of this.
It's always fun kind of watching cartoons that, I mean, like if I saw that as a kid, I don't know how much it would register to me, but like as an adult, it's like, wow, this is intense.
Yeah, I love that about like adding that depth that comes with a new perspective. I think that really well done works can work on multiple levels like that. You can just take it at face value as an episodic cartoon, and it's funny, and people talk in funny voices, and there's all those great things you need in cartoons. Good animation, awesome character design. But then if you look at the the storyline overall, there's always some kind of interesting plot developments. They're there for the parents, so they don't get bored watching the show. But it's awesome. I love animation for that reason.
I agree, and with Tailspin originally started out as a show called B Players, which I'm not sure the time frame. I think it might have been set sort of in the early days of baseball, and it starred Baloo as a baseball player. And I forget, I think other classic characters were supposed to be incorporated in that show too. There's a really great article from the creator of Tailspin, Jim Magon, who was originally pitching B Players.
Pitching?
And like you said... Wish I could say I meant to do that. But there was it's funny, earlier you mentioned that Rescue Rangers was a Rescuers type show, because I think it originally started that way.
Wow.
But then something happened, and I think they found that maybe Rescuers wasn't relevant enough, so they sort of scrapped the idea and then brought it back. They were like, well, what if we use pre-existing characters or something? I don't remember.
Yeah.
There's a lot of neat history behind this stuff.
That's really cool. I will have to check that out.
Yeah.
And when I was doing, my research for this, it was several years ago for Tailspin, but I kept thinking of this Studio Ghibli movie that's one of my favorite Studio Ghibli films called Porco Rosso. Have you seen that movie?
I have not.
It's really interesting. It's about an anthropomorphic pig who flies, who's a pilot, and he lives on this like coastal city, and he fought in World War I, and like has these like flashbacks and stuff, and it's really interesting. It's like very similar vein for Tailspin.
Yeah.
And I guess it was based on a manga, a Japanese comic that came out before Tailspin. And the Tailspin people definitely had admiration for Studio Ghibli, but they hadn't necessarily seen that source material as like, we're going to make a cartoon based on this. So Tailspin came out first, actually, before this movie Porco Rosso, but they're very similar as far as it's a movie about an anthropomorphic animal driving, flying airplanes in a coastal city before World War II. And like, it's like, how many movies are about that? How many children's cartoons from the late 80s, early 90s are about anthropomorphic animals flying fighter pilots? It's like, that's kind of weird. But Porco Rosso is an awesome movie. It's more adult, more mature. Not that it's like, I bet it's rated, PG, but it is a little more slow paced and like there's more atmosphere, more emotions to it. It's a really awesome movie. I would definitely recommend it. But it just has a lot of similarities that I really love. I love both of those properties very much. And I just think that world is so fascinating of having the coastal city for one, and then also being able to just fly planes. Like flying is such a magical thing to me. Like it seems so cool. And I know we talked about this with the Gummi Bears a little bit ago.
Yeah.
There's just some magic to older technology, especially flying technology, where they didn't necessarily know like everything that we know today. They didn't have space exploration. They didn't have everything down to a perfect science. It was like, well, we've tried this enough times. We found out that this works better than that. And it was based on experimentation and just invention. I love that. That's so cool.
Yeah, I agree. And I love that this show incorporates things like air pirates and things of that nature with Don Carnage, one of the most egocentric villains to ever exist.
It's an awesome name too.
I know.
Cool. So we could definitely do lots of plane-based attractions and seaplanes, landing on water. That'd be kind of fun for a coaster.
Ooh, I like that.
Where you kind of touch down on water and it shoots water everywhere and then you can take back off again. So having plane-shaped ride vehicles would be really fun. And then they could do boats and like submarines, and this could almost cross over into the Gummi Bears area. So maybe there's a big body of water in this park, and there's various underwater vehicles going around, surface water vehicles going around, and then also airplanes coming and landing. That'd be really fun. If you're in one part of the park, on one side of this body of water, and you see there's this one like roller coaster that kind of comes way out, and the cars touch down in the water and then take back off again. It'd be pretty exciting.
I don't know. I don't know if any roller coasters have done that. I mean, I'm sure they have to have, but I'm not familiar.
Yeah, I would assume they have, but there are some logistics there. Like, what if you get a lot of rain and so the water level rises, and then when people, the car hits the water, it just like comes to a dead stop because the water's too deep. It like breaks the landing gear off.
What if it never actually comes and touches the water?
Right.
Like, what if there was some sort of thing in the side of the cart that would spray water out?
Oh, cool. That's a good idea. That's really smart. Or you could even do a fountain type thing at the surface of the water, so it just blows water out when you get 3 feet above it, and it feels like you're just skimming the surface.
That's true.
Oh, that'd be
We'd have
thrilling.
to figure out a way to make it so that the tracks do not rust. But...
Right. I think it would have to be suspended, like the tracks are above the vehicle. I think that could work. And maybe you're in a cockpit, so there's actually like a ceiling above you, or or it's like a biplane kind of design, so you can't see directly above you anyway.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I like that.
I'm trying to hide the rail for some reason, but that's not necessary, because roller coasters are fun no matter if you realize it's a roller coaster or not. And if you're young enough to kind of forget that, then go ahead. Like that's really fun.
That's
cool.
true. And if we can create some sort of successful log flume / roller coaster type thing, that would be a lot of fun.
Oh, for sure.
And I have a name for it.
Okay, let's hear it.
Higher for Higher Flyers.
Nice. Is that a name taken from the show?
That was the name of the place that Rebecca owned.
Nice.
Higher for Higher.
Yeah, Higher for Higher. Oh, cool.
So
That sounds awesome. And incorporating the either animatronic or just voiceovers of the characters, talking to you in your headset when you're flying around in this airplane would be really cool.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be fun, how Kit has his like sky surfboard thing that he uses.
Yeah.
I don't know how we could turn that into a ride, but that would be fun.
That would be really fun. Kit, who's supposed to kind of represent the audience in this show, as far as I can tell, has this kind of croissant-shaped boomerang-esque metal thing that he kind of flies around on. So it's almost like he's skiing behind the plane on the clouds and stuff like that.
Yep.
Which is an awesome idea. It sounds super fun, but also very dangerous. But I think you could do a simulation. Like, I've only ever seen this on commercials for cruises before, but they have those like simulated surfing areas where it's basically just like a curved surface with water rushing over it. You could do something like that and maybe add like a smoke machine or something so it looks like clouds, or just paint the bottom underneath the water so it looks like clouds, and then you can just kind of surf back and forth. That's kind of a cheap one where we're just like reskinning an existing attraction, but it would be really fun. It would feel right, and you can't really
add the elements.
Yeah,
that makes it a little bit better. It's not just straight up ripping off an existing thing.
Right, exactly. It is themed because you can't really just pull people behind your airplane. I don't think that seems dangerous. No. But that does seem like a really cool aspect that fans of the show might want to try out. Like, what would it be like to ride on that thing? Yeah.
Oh, like the old projection things that you would get in, like the roller coaster. I can't think of what they're called. But it would rock back and forth and make you feel like you were doing that.
Yeah.
Maybe we could have like a dark ride essentially, where maybe you're strapped into something that can move you in 360 degrees.
Whoa.
With a screen that's like pulling you around.
Yes, that sounds awesome. I've seen some new kind of futuristic theme park technology where they're using VR and you're in a seat, just like a roller coaster thing, but it's for one person, and you're on an arm. So there's this robotic arm holding just you in your chair, and it can turn you, flip you around 360 degrees. It can lean you way forward and way back, and the arm itself can move around as well. So you can move around in space and rotate in space, and it just seems so crazy exhilarating, especially if it's a VR thing where you have some kind of control of where you want to go or what you want to do. Being able to feel your physical body move in reaction to what you're inputting on the controls of the game would be fascinating. So doing something like
really
that,
cool.
that would be very expensive, I'm sure, but doing a simpler version of that would be really cool, where it's a scripted, scene where you're following behind this plane, and you do little corkscrews and cool different tricks and stuff, and it moves your body around to react to that. Oh, that's great. I like that as well, the darkroom ride.
Well, you say it could get expensive, but remember, we're playing with theoretical Disney money here. So
that's true. Not only is it imaginary,
that's a double-edged sword, because we have a lot of it, but if we do something wrong, we're in trouble.
That's very true. Disney's got a lot of people watching, lots to watch out for. Cool.
I had one more ride for the Cape Suzette area.
Awesome.
And just kind of playing on the theme song, Spin It.
Yeah.
I was thinking, why not have teacup rides that
yes.
you spin?
Aw, that's awesome.
The boom, 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 kind of playing the whole time. It'd get really redundant if you worked there, but
right, that's true. But that always happens. You're gonna hear 10 songs maximum throughout your day. But
for sure.
Doing a lot of traditional theme park rides would be really fun, and just have minor theming. Some of our parks that we've designed in the show have been super immersive, and where they're theatrical level of design detail and immersion and stuff. And I don't think we should do that for this. I think it needs to just be fun above all else. And so even if it's just, there's a little kid's roller coaster that has a certain, small airplanes that your cars are shaped like, and then there's a more, higher thrills coaster with the same idea where you're flying an airplane. It's not well, how come this airplane's 5 times bigger than that airplane? It's because it's a roller coaster. Right. We're not trying to make it 100% immersive, but we're definitely designing things with that kind of intention of making it as immersive as it can be, while still being fun for all different people and feeling like a theme park.
Yeah, for sure.
That sounds cool. I like teacups. Those are fun rides. Any kind of like spinning ride, like even just the circus kind of not circus, what's the word? Carnival level of attractions where it has to be portable. I love those kinds of spinner attractions. Those are always really fun, and like you get a lot of motion within a small footprint. So yeah, I love that. That's awesome.
And those are like one of the few things that I feel really safe with these traveling rides.
yeah, that's true.
The risk isn't too high.
Right.
But like they could be shaped like sort of like rather than teacups, you know, like the cockpit of a plane or something.
Oh, cool.
Something to make it more tailspin themed.
Yeah, that would work.
That's it for today's Tailspin Show. But get set for more adventure on the Disney Afternoon.